Hello, my friends. My name is Evelyn Joy, and welcome back to my channel. So, my son Caleb is 21 months old and recently discovered that he is on the autistic spectrum. So, this has affected my parenting style. Well, let's say understanding his needs better has called for an adjustment to my parenting style, and I'm still adjusting it as I get to know his needs and understand autism more. So, I've been doing a few different things to better understand Caleb and his needs. We do infants and toddlers. That means they come to our house, or we have Zoom calls. Um, it's one teacher, and also sometimes an occupational therapist comes, and basically they're giving me ideas to better meet his needs, right? And we most likely will do more therapies in the future as well. We have to get a few more screenings and tests done to know exactly where he is on the spectrum and exactly what therapies are recommended and everything. So there's waiting lists for all these things. He has an appointment for a hearing test on December 3rd, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah. For now, we're doing infants and toddlers. We do church nursery on Sundays. We do homeschool co-op nursery on Tuesdays. And in each place there's teachers that are helping me with ideas and observations. And so I thought it would be helpful to share this here in case any other moms of autistic children find this video and maybe find a helpful idea. So before I found out he that Caleb was autistic, we sort of had the TV going a lot of the day, just kind of as background noise. We would have the TV on while eating breakfast or whatever. But I've learned to turn off the background noise the majority of the day so that Caleb can hear me better. You see, Caleb, his brain functions differently than mine in that he doesn't differentiate out the sounds. He hears everything. He has supersonic ears, as I say. And so he doesn't separate out me talking from the TV. It's all kind of connected um, from what I understand, right? So when I turn the TV off, he's able to hear me better. So instead of having the TV on, have him in his high chair eating his breakfast, now I have the TV off and I sit face to face with him and talk to him. I also repeat words slowly and carefully. I try to get him to look at my mouth. So if I'm giving him a piece of banana, I'll put it by my mouth and say, banana, banana, and then I'll do the sign eat, eat, and then I'll take his hand and have him do the sign eat. And then sometimes I'll do the sign please or more or all done. Now he's done please independently one time and he's done all done independently one time. So he's starting to kind of get a grasp of it, right? Since changing my style, just my parenting style, I almost said teaching style. Since teaching my since changing my parenting slash teaching style, right? About a week and a half ago, he's already learned a new word. He's learned the word no, which is awesome. He actually learned it because the thing he's obsessed with right now is opening and closing doors. And he's always wanting to open and close daddy's closet. And his fingers a couple of times have gotten stuck in the little it's like a folding door, so his fingers sometimes get jammed. So, I'm like, "No, no, 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 no." So he's learned what no means, which is awesome, because now he'll say no at appropriate times when he doesn't like something, and then he'll understand when I say no and he'll stop, which is awesome because for the most part a lot of our communication it's been not understood because his speech is delayed. He's at the level of like a 10-month-old, whereas he's almost 2 years old. So he only has 4 or 5 words, right? And even it's been pointed out to me that even one of the words that I'm counting as a word doesn't have a meaning to him. So to him, it's actually more of a verbal stim when he says yeah, 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 or yay, yay, yay. It's just a sound for him. It doesn't have meaning for him. But the point is, he's starting to say it. Yesterday, he was playing with bubbles and he was saying ba, 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 which is super exciting because whenever he's in the bath playing with bubbles, I'm like, bubble, bubble, bubble. I try to say bubble a lot so that he gets it, that that's what that is. So if you have a child with speech delay, that's something that can be helpful is instead of speaking full sentences to them, which, has a time and a place, right? Try to speak slowly and clearly and repetitively use the same word while they are doing the action, such as they're playing with bubbles and you say, bubble, bubble, bubble. Then you can say a full sentence like, do you like bubbles, Caleb? I like bubbles, Mama. Bubble, bubble. So, kind of, that's the kind of things I say to him when I'm giving him breakfast. I say, eat, eat. I try to get him to look at my mouth, eat. And then I do this sign for him, eat. I say, banana, banana. Now, the goals for some of the words I want him to learn, I actually chose from watching videos of his siblings at the same age. Joshua was delayed at talking, but at 2 years old, he could say banana for banana. Deborah, she was my late walker, but she was not a late talker. She could say ba for ball. So whenever we play with a ball, I want to say ball, ball. Now, from observing him, I peeked in the window during nursery and I found out that he knows how to put a ball in a basketball hoop. So I got on Facebook Marketplace and for $10, I got a toddler basketball hoop for him. And at Dollar Tree, I'm going to get a few extra balls so that each one of my kids can have a ball and they can play a game. You see, kids with autism, they're really good at playing independently. They say they're in their own world. The thing that is the disconnect is with socializing. So with turning to you and involving you in the game. So that's something that comes naturally for other children, but it's something that has to be taught with kids with autism. So luckily, my son is the youngest of four sweet children. And so the three older siblings are patiently learning how to teach Caleb how to interact and play with us. Um, so he's not one to have the ball and turn and look at us, but we will, take a turn with the ball and pass it to him so that he can learn that this is how the game is played, right? So it's something that has to be taught, right? Some of the things that come naturally for some has to be taught in this situation. Um, Eye contact. So, eye contact is one of the main things that kids with autism struggle with. Now, in my opinion, from things I've seen from autistic adults and stuff, I believe I believe eye contact should not be forced, but it should be encouraged, right? Because eye contact is sometimes overstimulation for them because their brains, from my understanding, work as like they have a photographic memory. So when they're looking you directly in the eye, their brains are taking in so much information, it's overwhelming at times. The other thing I'm observing about my son is when are the times that he does what I call a brain break, but the official term I found out recently is actually called an autism shutdown. So that's when he lays flat down on his face with his face to the ground. The two times I've observed that he does this almost constantly is when we have his teacher over from infants and toddlers. He feels uncomfortable, and I'm trying to figure out if he's not enjoying having a stranger over to our house, or if it's because mom's talking too much and the small talk is just driving him nuts. Hearing our conversation is driving him crazy. Is it because the TV's off and he's bored? Is it because he feels trapped or he wants to go through the door? I don't know exactly. But during the time that she was over, he laid down on his face like 12 different times, like a lot of times. It was very notable. And she was there just to observe him. She wasn't forcing anything on him or anything. So it was interesting. The other time was at the pediatrician's office. Now, the night before, he did not sleep very well, but he was just like constantly trying to lay on the floor, and I was constantly picking him up, and he was just kicking out of my arms and laying down on the floor, face down. So he was very uncomfortable. And I recently watched a video from an autistic adult saying that he hates small talk and that going to the doctor's office is like the worst ever. And so I'm just starting to observe some of those things in my son. The other thing that really threw me off is yesterday while I was driving, we didn't have the TV on, we didn't have the radio on, we didn't have any iPads, we didn't have any honking cars or anything, but Caleb had his hands over his ears. The only sound that I could hear, I don't have supersonic ears, the only sound that I could hear was just the traffic driving by on the highway. And so I'm starting to see that my son would prefer to listen to the radio than have to hear the highway. So it's not always beneficial to turn off extra noises because there are noises that he enjoys, such as music or TV, right? There's noises that he does not want to hear. Maybe small talk or highway noises or crinkling chip bags. Those kinds of things could be like nails on a chalkboard and bother him, right? So I'm still learning to observe like what kinds of things affect my son and how I can better understand him and help him with his coping mechanisms. Something else I learned is that when he lays flat down on the floor, I have 2 different options. Either I can let him have a minute or I can give him a hug. I was so happy to know that I can give him a hug and that can encourage him and help him in that situation. I found that out from an autistic adult who made a video about autism shutdowns. He said, with autism shutdowns, we need a minute, we need our space, or you could give us a hug. And that extra pressure releases some of that stress and tension. And so I wrongfully thought that people with autism did not enjoy physical touch because they don't like some forms of physical touch. Like Caleb hates having his hands held. He hates feeling held down. He won't hold hands for Ring Around the Rosie. He won't hold hands to pray at bedtime. And he only holds my hand because I make him hold my hand if we're in a parking lot or a driveway, right? So and he doesn't like it. So he hates holding hands, but he loves a hug, right? And that's actually true of people with autism. A lot of times that hug can actually be very comforting and they do enjoy relationships with others just because their brain filters it differently. I'm just learning the differences, right? The other thing is I'm learning about the difference between a sensory seeker and a sensory avoider. And I could be wrong, but I think from my understanding, it sounds like all autistic people do some of both in that they enjoy something that just feels really good or something that's textured or fun or like a poppet or a fidget spinner, things that they can enjoy. There they have heightened senses, so they're very much comforted by, playing with something that feels really good, maybe a squishy toy or something that has sequins on it that changes color when you brush your hand across it, or poppets where you push in the buttons and stuff. These are all things that my son loves. Oh my goodness. And these are things that even autistic adults use, like when they're feeling stressed. I even tend to think maybe some of these things were like the sequins where they change colors. I'm like, did an autistic adult come up with that? Are some of these awesome like toys that do cool things? Were they invented by autistic adults? Like the Slinky. Like I can't help but wonder like who came up with these? Because maybe they discovered that springs are so satisfying to play with, so let's make a toy out of it, right? I can't help but think that some autistic adults were behind some of the coolest toys that we have, right? I could be wrong. Who knows? But I also was thinking, and I was like, I've heard stories from Albert Einstein's childhood, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure Albert Einstein was autistic, and I looked it up, and he was, and I'm like, look there, Albert Einstein, Mister E equals MC square, right there. Um, Autistic adult, awesome. So I've just been learning more and more and more about what makes Caleb tick, right? Um, what how his brain works differently than mine, and it's really interesting. Um, so he's not one to make eye contact or say hi or bye, or involve others in his games. He's just in his own world. But at the same time, he comes to me, not when I call his name necessarily, but and he doesn't communicate his needs, but if he has a poopy diaper, he comes near me so that I'll discover he has a poopy diaper. If he's thirsty, he finds an empty sippy cup and tries to drink it. He doesn't bring the cup to me, but I see the need. If he wants food, he just like grabs some food off of his sibling's plate, right? Or whatever it is, right? So it's interesting. So I'm I've got goals to teach him, how to talk, to teach him how to interact socially. I feel like the eye contact thing kind of needs to be on his own time, but it's gonna be something that I'm gonna work on sitting across from him as I talk to him more. Um, there people do sensory bins. Okay, so I'm a mom of 4 kids, and I never understood before why people do sensory bins. And now I know that sensory bins are to help desensitize kids through play. If kids are super, super oversensitive to certain stimulating feelings and things, you can make like a cool sensory bend. Like one I saw was you can put glow sticks in water and then put water beads in it, and they may not like that slimy feeling, but it could be like a fun game for them, and it could help them desensitize to like slimy feelings and stuff like that. So it's interesting. I'm thankful that my son does have some words because there's some autistic children that don't have any words. Caleb has mama, dada. He sometimes says daddy, go go, and no no. He also says yeah yeah and yay yay, but those don't really have a meaning to him. And then he just started saying bubba for bubble. Um, so that was pretty cool. So yeah, little by little, he's done the sign for please and the sign for all done. So we're working on, I want to teach him the sign for drink, the sign for more. We're going to start incorporating pictures. I haven't like printed them yet because I haven't decided yet which pictures, but I'm going to print them on cardstock, cut them out and laminate them and put some, um, Velcro on the back and make like charts for him to be able to tell me from pictures things that he likes. That's something else that I observed that one second. Hello? I don't know what that was about. Do you ever get like, oh, your warranty is running out calls? Anyway, oh, my kids have class in 8 minutes. So, anyway, last thing, he climbed up on the table and touched the TV. But he was specifically it was a Bible Adventures show, and they have different icons on the screen, and it's like, "Which one's the icon?" And he's seen the episode a lot of times, right? So he touched the icon with the cross on it, and that was the correct one. So he has a photographic memory and he knows which one was going to be the correct icon out of the 6 or so different options. He picked the correct one. So that kind of also is a sign to me that he's ready to use like picture images to be able to be like, "Oh, I want a drink." So like if I point to or touch with my hand the drink, then mommy will give me a drink, right? If I so that's the beginning of communication using pictures, and then later he can learn to use the sign, or hopefully eventually learn to use the word as well, right? So the other thing real quick is that I'm learning about autistic toddlers is the difference between pre-verbal and nonverbal. Now, Caleb doesn't fit, in my opinion, under either category. Now, a professional may tell me differently. Again, we're going to get exactly categorized where he falls on the spectrum. Um, we're on a wait list. It'll take a while, probably. So, first of all, I had a, I forgot what I was saying. Sorry, I forgot what I was saying. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. Okay, yes. Nonverbal versus preverbal. So, nonverbal is someone who does not have any words and does not communicate their needs. Preverbal oftentimes is toddlers that take their parent by the hand and lead them to the thing that they want. My son does not do that. So, my son is more nonverbal, but he has a few words. So, I feel like he doesn't fall under the category of nonverbal, but I don't know what a professional would say exactly, because I've seen some posts from parents saying, "Oh, my son's nonverbal, he only has 4 words." And I'm like, "That's not in my opinion, in my definition, that's not nonverbal," but I don't know the professional definition, right? But yeah, preverbal is a child that's able to communicate their needs, and my son doesn't do that yet. But it's something that can be learned and we can teach to him. So, yeah, those are some of the things we're going to work on. My daughters have an online class soon. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.